Chapter 4. The Believer. The letter arrived on a Thursday. Elias found it in his mailbox, sandwiched between a bill for his internet service and a flyer advertising a local yoga studio. It was handwritten, which was unusual. Most of his correspondence was typed, printed, formal. This letter was written in blue ink on cream-colored paper, the handwriting precise and careful, as if the writer had spent hours perfecting each letter. He carried it upstairs to his apartment. He set it on his desk. He stared at it for a long time. He did not want to open it. He knew, with the instinct of a man who had received thousands of letters from strangers, that this one would be different. This one would be demanding. This one would be desperate. This one would be the kind of letter that could not be ignored. He opened it anyway. Dear Dr. Thorne, the letter began. My name is Julian. I'm 23 years old. I'm a graduate student in philosophy at the University of Chicago. I have read everything you have written. I have memorized your arguments. I have based my entire life on your ideas. Elias paused. He read the sentence again. I have based my entire life on your ideas. He felt a chill run down his spine. I'm writing to you because I need your help. I have been working on a project that I believe will change the world. A project that will take your ideas and turn them into action. I believe that you are the only person who can help me. I believe that you are the only person who will understand. He had received letters like this before. Not often, but often enough. Letters from young people who had been inspired by his work, who had found in his arguments a clarity they could not find elsewhere, who had decided to dedicate their lives to the cause of antinatalism. He had never known what to do with them. He had never known how to respond. He had tried sometimes. He had written back. He had offered advice. He had told them that the life of the mind was a worthy pursuit, that philosophy was a noble calling, that the search for truth was the highest goal. But he had never been able to give them what they really wanted. He had never been able to give them meaning. He walked back to his desk. He picked up the letter. He continued reading. I have read your manifesto. I have read it 100 times and memorized every word. I have argued with my professors, my classmates, my family. I have convinced some of them and have lost others. But I have never wavered or doubted or stopped believing that you are right. Elias felt something twist in his chest. He felt something that might have been pride and something that might have been fear. I'm writing to you now because I have a plan that will take your ideas and make them real, that will show the world that you are right, that will force people to confront the truth. He stopped reading. He put the letter down. He did not want to know what the plan was. He did not want to know what this young man had in mind. He did not want to be responsible for the consequences. But he was responsible. He had written the words. He had made the arguments. He had convinced the world that life was suffering, that procreation was a moral wrong, that the only ethical choice was to refrain from creating new life. He had written the words, and now the words were out there, and they belonged to other people. They belonged to people like Julian, people who had found in his arguments a clarity they could not find elsewhere, people who had decided to act. He picked up the letter again. I'm organizing a conference that will bring together the leading thinkers in the antinatalist movement, that will lay the groundwork for a new era of human consciousness, a conference that will change the world. He put the letter down. He stared at the wall. A conference. That was all. A conference. He had been to conferences before. They were boring. They were academic. They were filled with people who talked and never did anything. But there was something in Julian's letter that worried him. Something in the tone. Something in the intensity. Something in the absolute certainty of the young man's conviction. He had been that young man once. He had been that certain. He had believed, with all his heart, that he had found the truth. And now he was old. And he was tired. And he was dying. And he was not certain of anything. He wrote back. He did not want to. He knew he should ignore the letter, file it away, forget about it. But he could not. The letter had found its way into his hands, and now it was his responsibility. He had to respond. He wrote a short and polite letter that thanked Julian for his kind words, but declined the invitation to speak at the conference. He explained that he was busy with his own work, that he was not interested in public appearances, that he preferred to focus on his writing. He lied. He was not busy with his own work. He had not written anything substantial in months. He was not interested in public appearances. He was interested in nothing at all. But he could not tell Julian that. He could not tell Julian that he had lost his faith, that he no longer believed in the arguments he had spent his life making, that the truth was not as simple as he had once believed. He could not tell Julian any of this, because Julian was a believer, a true believer, and true believers were dangerous. Julian wrote back. His reply arrived 3 days later. It was longer than the first letter, more urgent, more demanding. Dear Doctor, Thorne, he wrote, I understand that you are busy. I understand that you have your own work. But I need you to understand that this conference is important. This conference is the most important thing I have ever done. It is the culmination of everything I believe. Elias read the letter. He felt the chill return. I have invited speakers from all over the world. I have secured funding. I have booked a venue. Everything is ready. But the conference will not be complete without you. You are the founder of this movement. You are the one who gave us the words. You are the one who showed us the truth. Elias put the letter down. He had never wanted to be a founder or a leader or the face of a movement. He had simply wanted to understand. He had simply wanted to find the truth. But the truth, he had discovered, was not a thing to be found. The truth was a thing to be made. And once you made it, you could not control it. You could not control what other people did with it. Please, Dr. Thorne, please come to the conference. Please speak to us. Please help us change the world. Elias agreed to come. The conference was held in Chicago, in a hotel ballroom that smelled of stale coffee and cheap perfume. Elias arrived early, hoping to avoid the crowd. He was not successful. Julian was waiting for him in the lobby, his face bright with excitement, his hands trembling with nervous energy. Julian was young. He was younger than Elias had expected. He was 23, but he looked 18. He had a thin face, sharp features, and eyes that burned with the intensity of a true believer. Dr. Thorne, Julian said. He extended his hand. Thank you for coming. Thank you. I can't tell you how much this means to me. Elias shook his hand. Julian's grip was firm, almost crushing. It was the grip of a man who had something to prove. I'm glad to be here, Elias said. It was a lie. He was not glad to be here. He was not glad to be anywhere. Let me show you around, Julian said. Let me introduce you to the other speakers. Let me show you the schedule. Everything's ready. Everything's perfect. Elias followed him into the ballroom. The room was filled with people. Young people, mostly. They were sitting in folding chairs, talking in hushed voices, looking at him with the same burning intensity that he had seen in Julian's eyes. They were believers. All of them. They believed in his ideas, in his arguments, in the truth that he had spent his life constructing. He looked at them, and he felt something that he had not expected. He felt a sense of responsibility. He felt a sense of duty, a sense of obligation to these young people who had given their lives to his cause. He felt, for the first time in years, that he mattered. The conference began. Elias sat on the stage, listening to the other speakers. They were good. They were passionate. They were convinced. They spoke about the asymmetry of pain, about the non-consensual gamble, the certainty of suffering, and the moral imperative to refrain from procreation. Elias listened, and he felt something that he had not expected. He felt a sense of pride, and he felt a sense of shame. He had built this. He had created this. He had given these young people the words to express their convictions, but he had also given them the words to express their hatred, to condemn the world, to turn away from life. He had given them the words, and now he could not take them back. Julian spoke last. He stood at the podium, his hands trembling, his voice shaking. He looked out at the audience. He looked at the faces of the believers. "I want to thank you all for coming," he said. "I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for believing." He paused. He took a breath. He looked at Elias. "I want to thank Dr. Thorne," he said. "I want to thank him for being here, for giving us the words, for showing us the truth." The audience applauded. They applauded Elias. They applauded the man who had given them the words to express their convictions. Elias sat on the stage, listening to the applause. He felt the pride and the shame and the weight of responsibility. He had given them the words, and now the words were out there, and they belonged to other people. They belonged to people like Julian, people who would take the words and turn them into action. He looked at Julian. He looked at the young man's burning eyes. He looked at the intensity of his conviction. And he knew, with a certainty that chilled him, that Julian was dangerous. The conference ended. Elias stood in the lobby, shaking hands, accepting thanks. The believers filed past him, their eyes bright, their voices eager. They thanked him for his work, for his ideas, for showing them the truth. He smiled. He nodded. He said the right things. And then Julian appeared at his side. "Dr. Thorne," Julian said, "can I speak with you? Privately?" Elias nodded. He had been expecting this. He had been dreading this. They walked to a quiet corner of the lobby. Julian's hands were trembling. His voice was shaking. "Dr. Thorne," Julian said, "I need to tell you something. Something I haven't told anyone else." Elias waited. He did not want to hear what Julian had to say. He knew, with the instinct of a man who had spent his life reading other people, that this was going to be bad. "I have been thinking," Julian said, "about the arguments, the asymmetry of pain, the non-consensual gamble, the certainty of suffering. I have been thinking about them, and I have been thinking about what we can do.
What we must do, what the logical conclusion of our beliefs really is." Elias felt the chill return. He felt it in his spine, in his chest, in the pit of his stomach. "What do you mean?" he asked. "I mean," Julian said, "that we have to act. We can't just talk about these things. We can't just write about them. We have to do something. We have to show the world that we mean what we say." Elias felt his heart sink. He knew what Julian was going to say, and he did not want to hear it. "What are you suggesting?" he asked.
Julian looked at him. His eyes were burning, his hands trembling, his voice shaking. "I'm suggesting," Julian said, "that we take the logical conclusion of our beliefs, the ultimate logical conclusion, the conclusion that we've all been avoiding." He paused. He took a breath. "I'm suggesting," he said, "that we prevent suffering permanently, that we take action, that we stop talking and start doing." Elias stared at him. He felt the room spinning. He felt his heart pounding. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. "Julian," he said, "what are you talking about?" Julian looked at him. His eyes were burning. His voice was steady. "I'm talking," he said, "about preventing birth, all birth, taking the asymmetry of pain and making it real, saving the unborn and all of them, forever." Elias went back to his hotel room. He sat on the bed. He stared at the wall. He had created this. He had built this. He had given Julian the words, the arguments, the certainty. And now Julian was going to do something terrible, something that would ruin lives, something that would destroy everything. He had to stop him. He knew he had to stop him. He had to find a way to talk him out of it. He had to find a way to show him that he was wrong. But he did not know how. He had spent his entire life arguing that Julian was right, the arguments that Julian was now going to use to justify his actions. He had spent his entire life building the scaffolding, and now he was going to have to tear it down. He sat on the bed. He stared at the wall. He tried to think of what to do. He could not think of anything. He left the hotel the next morning. He did not say goodbye to Julian or attend the final session of the conference. He packed his bags and walked out of the hotel and took a cab to the airport. Elias sat down at his desk. He opened his laptop. He looked at the blank screen. He thought about the letter he had written to his sister, the letter he had not sent, the letter that had been sitting in his drafts for months. He opened it. He read it again. My dear Clara, it began. I am writing to you because I am dying. I have 2 months to live, and I have spent the last 3 years pretending that you do not exist. This was a mistake. He read it. He read it again. He read it until he had memorized every word. And then he did something he had never done before. He hit send. The email went out into the void. He watched it disappear, becoming part of the vast, indifferent network of information that connected the world. The email came the next morning. He saw the subject line, "Read, I am dying." He opened it. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. Elias, the email began. I don't know how to respond or what to say. I have spent the last 3 years trying to forget you. And now you write to me and tell me that you are dying. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, but I'm willing to try. I am willing to try, because you are my brother, and I love you.